We do have finance tonight.
Yeah, over in that other room.
Okay. Is it a long finance agenda?
Not
Then we're
really,
gonna do Is it a long finance agenda?
It's not long.
Okay,
It's
good.
not too long.
Chair Randall, we are live.
Morning, big girl. Okay. Good, evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'm going to call to order the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority Governance and Personnel Committee. This meeting will be conducted via live stream via YouTube. Because the General Assembly session has begun, there are some people who are definitely going to be joining us virtually because they're already down in the General Assembly. I do believe that Tracy Baynard will be joining us virtually. Is she on
She's on.
already? Is Jennifer Boysko on this committee?
Yeah.
She is not. So it's just Miss Baynard for now. Who's
Yeah.
going to be driving. There's nobody else on the live stream but Miss Baynard. Okay, wonderful.
Mike Longsy's also.
Oh, yeah.
Who was that? Who was that?
Mike Longy.
Oh, my phone. Okay. All right. Right now we have four. I'd like to ask I'm assuming everyone read their meetings for the last meeting, which was some time ago because we normally do these meetings only when we're in session because it's the Governance and Personnel Committee. So when we're in session. So the minutes were from a very long time ago. I realized that they're from April 13th. However, we still have to approve those minutes. And so I will make a motion to approve those. Is there a second on that? Motion seconded by Mayor Davis Younger. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. Well, then that means we do not have, we have a board, no, it's a voting quorum, even though it wasn't a voting majority, it's a voting quorum, so we're fine. So we have, that is a 2-1-1, that was a 2-1-2 vote of two people being here, Mayor Younger and myself voting aye, Mayor Risho abstaining, and then two people who were not here. Who's not here, right? Who's on this committee and not here yet?
It was Ann Wheeler and Jack McKay.
All right, so Mr. McKay's not here, and we will have to reappoint another position since Ms. Wheeler is no longer going to be with us. And I will have that discussion with the new elected chair at large of Prince William County, Ms. Jefferson. I have not discussed with her what MBTA committee she wants to be on, the subcommittee she wants to be on, but I will have that meeting with that discussion with her later today. I am assuming she's coming to see today, right? She'll be here later. Okay, wonderful. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look over the Governance and Personnel Committee calendar and approve that. Just because, again, we normally do these meetings through the General Assembly session. So Ms. Blackman, you want to talk about calendar a little bit this time?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, as you had noted, the GPC normally meets during session, but we did schedule a full meeting calendar for the year and with some dates of May, June, and July noted if necessary, and also no meeting in August unless circumstances require, and then in September only if necessary, to keep with our tradition of meeting right prior to or in preparation for the General Assembly session. So in your packet, we would continue to meet prior to the Authority Finance Committee meetings at this time, the second Thursday of every month at 5:30 p.m.
I would also make the, well, you know what, let me go on and make the motion and talk inside the motion. I'm going to make the motion to adopt the meeting schedule.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Ms. Risho. Discussion on the motion. I would simply say that the General Assembly moves fast. There's a lot of stuff going on down there in a short period of time. So although we only have meetings once a month for the GPC, it is very normal throughout the General Assembly session for me to contact, or for Ms. Backman to contact me and me to contact both GPC members first and then the full authority after that when something comes up that could impact the authority in any way, either a budget or anything else. And so what we might do is take straw poll votes that we would take between the times that we meet, and then when we get together to meet, we will ratify those straw poll votes. That's pretty normal. So just to, make sure you watch your emails and that type of thing. If you're on GPC and we have to do that, I'll actually try to give you a call to let you know that there's something coming up. So just to let you know that, because there's no way we can only meet once a month during the session and then catch everything that's happening during the session. It's just impossible. In addition, I will also say that Senator Boysko, who is a MBTA member and is, I believe, the chair of the Senate Transportation Committee, and I have agreed that we were keeping pretty close contact, especially as they might concern MBTA issues as well. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all good to say aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass 302. Actually, that's not correct. It's 311, actually. That's what it actually is, because Mr. McKay's not here, and then there is a natural, there's a vacancy. So it's not that she's not absent, there's a vacancy, and so she's reappointed, so it's actually 311. And then the last action item is the General Assembly update, and I think Ms. Baynard is on the line with us. Hi.
We can't hear you, Tracy. No, she's not. She's saying 1 second. Because she's unmuted, but her sound isn't coming. No, nothing. Nothing, Tracy. I can see her.
She's turned up, because you can be unmuted but not turned up.
How's that?
Oh, there we go. There we go.
I am so sorry. My computer does not like me hanging out in Richmond, and it keeps undoing my settings.
That's okay.
It's like, come back to God's country, Northern Virginia. Why don't you?
That's right. Loud and especially.
So I will say that this is probably the least amount of bills I will talk to you about during the session. There are so many coming in. We're probably at we're over 1,100 bills on the House side and over 500 bills on the Senate side. The last day likely they can pre-file bills will be January 19th. So they are coming fast and furious. But we are, from a transportation perspective, we are seeing a little bit of some themes. The first one is there are a number of bills that are still coming in regarding safety issues, and primarily in the category of either expanding local government ability to use photo monitoring for traffic lights, expanding local government ability to use photo monitoring for speed. There are some bills to continue to try to work with VDOT about local government control over speed on the most local roads. They're not all in. There are a number of them, as you all know from previous years. The photo monitoring bills have had a hard time getting through. We are currently under a limited use of that authority, whereby localities by ordinance can create traffic photo monitoring systems for speed around either school zones or work zones. So the bills we are seeing look at either expanding it across a locality, or there's one bill looking to expand the definition of school zone. I think once we see all the bills and have a chance to kind of understand if they're going to be there's going to be sort of rallying around one particular concept, working with our colleagues at VML and VACO and the other localities. I think that is going to be the best chance, because again, and we've got divided government. So General Assembly has to pass something that they really hope the governor will sign. I will say that as I was sort of been asking around locally how the current school zone or work zone program is going, looks like almost every locality has had a chance to stand it up. They're not sure if they've been in place long enough to have any data that shows how those programs are working. And I think having data that shows the programs have had a noticeable difference in slowing speeds or reducing crashes is going to be important. So I know safety is a big issue for NVTA. I will get all of the bills together. And I think at some point, all of the stakeholders who are in support of these bills will probably coalesce around, one or two, fold a bunch of bills together and make that effort. So I will keep you all posted on that. I'll stop there unless anybody has questions.
There are questions, yes, Ms. Mayor Rochelle.
Do we have a sense of how the definition will be changed in the school zones?
It's the one I've seen so far, but I know others are coming, Rochelle. The bill that I've seen would expand the definition so that it's more of a corridor. So you would be allowed to include private institution if they are near a public school. You'd be allowed to do if schools are next to each other. You'd be allowed to consider higher ed campuses. So it looks like it's trying to make the definition more about a corridor and not a specific school.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Tracy, I'm so happy that I'm on time to hear you about these things. There is a God for those who come delayed to meetings. So happy New Year, first of all.
Happy New
Secondly,
Year.
what are the chances that the realistic chances that, the governor agrees to expand the photo
Right.
enforcement beyond schools? What is the realistic chance that
So,
something
yeah.
happens?
So there's a couple of things I would say. One is the administration's use of monitoring and similar concerns about safety on the roads and highways that they're responsible for. Secretary Miller was at Senate Finance this morning and spoke very long and detailed about, Virginia's serious injury and fatality numbers are they're coming down, but not fast enough. And the number we have is just not acceptable. So to tell you, I believe that if that data collected from the current structure of it, if data can come together and prove that the localities have implemented the program, that they've implemented it effectively, that there's data that we can show that it's making a difference, it can only help. And I think what we've never had is that data part. This is an administration that wants to see things are effective. I think that will go a long way. So that may mean, sir, because I know some of these programs haven't been up very long, it may mean that we need another full year of data collection before we can make a big push. And I think that's sort of somewhat of the discussions we all need to have together about it.
Yes, sir. You have a follow-up question?
Oh, morning.
No.
So the good old argument that is, to me, a significantly important argument in that this is also a more equitable way to enforce, etc. This doesn't fly very well.
I mean, it has always been hard to get the remote these bills passed in Virginia. There's privacy issues that have always come up. There's, frankly, particularly because we're in Northern Virginia, we happen to be next door to DC. And as you know, the DC programs don't always have a great reputation. Whether it's true or not, it's just there. And so there's been a distrust of the process. The fact that we have the current structure that allows in work zone and school zones was really seen as a test. Could the localities stand them up? Could they stand them up in a fair and effective way? And would they actually work?
Gotcha.
There's also a bill, I should have mentioned this, new Senator Christy Craig out of Chesapeake has put a bill in related to this process that would permit localities to hire retired public officers, public police or sheriffs who were retired in good standing, to hire them to do the, I guess it would be the media review, and then make sure that you have the right data before you issue the citation. I don't know if staffing is a problem or a challenge in implementing this programs, but she wanted to, because I went to talk to her about it because I was curious why she put it in. But she wanted to provide an opportunity for localities to have public safety staff work on this who weren't needed in the community. If that makes sense.
I remember saying that. Yeah, yeah. Anybody else? Are you, Takis, you good?
Good. There is a residual frustration in my stomach because the numbers have been absolutely appalling. Nationwide and
Yeah.
regional-wide. And the second thing is, in schools and school slow zones, we are doing so much to slow it down that the data that we'll get there will be nice, but we're actually in a hurry to manage other places that don't have slow zones, that are minor arterials, for example, where, you know, people are speeding. And you know, every year that we delay there, we are delaying. We take away a tool that we know that, yes, we'll have some problems in implementation. It will need to be fine-tuned and polished, et cetera, but it's a tool that really works and saves lives.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
There's no question. Delegate Reed has a bill that would permit VDOT to waive certain requirements about installing crosswalks. I know how long the process it can be to get a crosswalk put in, to get a stop sign put in, to get a traffic light put in. So I also think we're going to see more bills like that look to streamline the process so that decisions are made quicker and the tools you want to use can be implemented quicker.
Tracy, the process to get a crosswalk at a school, it's the same to get a crosswalk anywhere? They're not two different processes?
Yeah. Okay. Good to know, because I did not know
No, I
that.
mean, no, that was a question.
Oh, your question. I'm sorry. I don't know.
No, I'm like Chair Randall said.
I don't know. So I'll take a deeper dive into Delegate Reed's bill and go talk to him to see if it's something that could be expanded to crosswalks everywhere, or is it going to be specific around schools?
Okay. Tracy?
Yes, ma'am.
When I said that, I wasn't stating it as a fact. I was asking it as a question.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. The other matter that I wanted to bring, there are two other matters. So there have been two bills introduced, House Bill 201 by Delegate Krizik and House Bill 1175 by Delegate Sickles, which would restore the requirement that the appointments by the Speaker of the House be members of the House of Delegates.
Yes.
And
Good.
that the Delegate Krizik's bill would apply to both to all three of our authority commissions. So the authority and the Transportation Commission and also PRTC.
Good.
Delegate Sickles has one bill for NVTA and one bill for NVTC. So those bills will be, I'm sure, will be referred to House Transportation Committee. That committee is chaired by Delegate Carrie Delaney from Fairfax. Delegate Reed of Loudoun is her vice chair. And additional Northern Virginia members are Watts, McClure, and Higgins. We don't have a companion Senate version of the bill, but I think that'll be fine. The bill, Senator Boysko has dropped our bill, Senate Bill 158, which clarifies that the authority appoints the members of the Technical Advisory Committee. I don't foresee a problem with that. There is a bill that has gotten quite a bit of conversation from our member localities. House Bill 557 from Delegate Hope out of Arlington creates another level of preservation review of NVTA projects and would limit NVTA's ability to fund or even consider any projects that might involve public lands, such as trails or bike trails. There's a lot of concern about it. It essentially would drop federal environmental assessment language into the code tied to NVTA. as a reminder to members and Ms. Bachman, Ms. Bachman, make sure I get this right. The project SPA that all recipients sign requires them to follow and adhere to local, state, and federal
Federal law.
environmental oversight and review and analysis.
All law, all applicable laws. Environmental, if it's an applicable law, the project sponsors have to follow those laws.
I don't understand, Tracy, I'm sorry. Could you one more time say what HB 557 is trying to do? I don't think I understood.
That's a little confusing. The bill as inserts language from federal code regarding preservation of public land and states specifically that NVTA would not be able to provide funding for any project that would involve public land, public park, designated public, sorry, I was gonna get the bill, designated public of local significance by the local governing body. Unless there's no feasible or prudent alternative, and the program includes all possible planning to minimize harm, park, recreation, or wildlife refuge use. The response that we have gotten so far, because I sent this out to the liaisons, is that this is undue restrictions on NVTA, that all of the jurisdictions already consider these matters because they have to. As you know, most of all of our localities always want to make sure that they are eligible to receive state funding and federal funding, which means that they will always plan, design projects based on those laws. Nobody's really happy about this bill.
I don't understand, what is his goal that because it sounds like that what is he trying to do?
This is, Madam Chair, Ms. Boehner, I'm stepping in for a quick minute. It's about the WOND trail that we funded. I think this is the project that has caused some consternation. So, and what Ms. Boehner is saying, I have the language, the authority shall prioritize the preservation of the natural beauty and the natural resources of the countryside and public park and recreation lands within the localities embraced by the authority. And then the additional verbiage that Ms. Boehner noted.
So are you saying, is he saying we could not fund any project at all unless we did that? Because we don't, that's not even our,
Well,
that's not our charter, that's not our charge.
That's one of the issues that we have.
So he's trying to just say, so he's trying to just make us not fund anything?
There is a lot of concern about that project and and we have seen repeated attempts to use NVTA to stop the project. I'm just going to be blunt about it.
Mm-hmm. When we funded, and this is on the website, we put PE on the WOND trail in Arlington in one of our previous funding programs. We received about 325 or so comments during the public comment period about that project. And since then, there's been some concern about widening the or doing anything on the WOND.
But I mean, we don't even have, I mean, most of our larger projects that we fund for congestion relief relative to cost, we wouldn't even be funding those projects anymore at all because they have nothing to, I mean, unless it's all just transit, I'm not getting this.
Well, what Monica says is right. Yes, this is motivated by opposition to the WND, and I wouldn't say a lot of opposition, but vocal opposition, which is against the trail, but says that the trail is environmentally harmful. So therefore, despite the fact that the trail has cleared all burdens, I mean, federal regulations, local regulations, Virginia regulations, etc., and continues to be designed at the highest standard to the degree that it's actually delayed several times. It's not like an easy thing. So now it says, for example, the bill that we have to go through NEPA, which if this is the school, then for the NVTA, for this authority here, will be really difficult to fund this kind of projects in the future as well, in any jurisdiction, no longer in ours. And also opens the door to say, to basically dictate what the NVTA as an authority can do and what they can't do. So there is also fundamental introduction of controls from the General Assembly if approved in the bill. We oppose this, period.
Yeah.
No question. We believe that there is.
We being NVTA,
We is the actual county.
Arlington opposes the bill. Who requested Mr. Hope put this bill in?
We didn't. He's an experienced old, he has been serving, he has a very high seniority, he understands constituencies issues, etc. I haven't talked to him about what specifically motivated him to put it in here and now and for any reasons. I haven't heard, to be honest here, I haven't heard an egregious crying out foul that something, the design of a an OD trail is really destroying it. Imagine, it kills a specific type of trees, or it endangers a species, or has other issues that I could imagine that people would really say, hey, wait a minute here, we need an extra protection. I haven't heard that. I mean, there is one thing to hear vocal opposition, and another thing is to hear, a red flag and all that. And there are consequences of this bill that go beyond the W.
Well, our entire program.
So that's the only thing I can contribute to this.
Well, that's, so Tracy,
Yes,
This-
ma'am.
this bill will go to Senate Transportation?
It will go to House House Transportation. It hasn't been
That's
officially
right.
assigned, but that's normally where our bills would go.
Yeah. But wouldn't it have to eventually go to Senate Transportation?
Only if House Transportation voted positively for it.
Well, I'm just saying because Senator Boysko is the chair of Senate. That's why I'm saying.
I mean, we would communicate to Delegate Hope and every member of House Transportation our opposition to the bill and hope that they would, understand our position and agree with us and not pass the bill out of committee.
Yeah, the bill is completely, it almost shuts down our functioning.
Well, it's so interesting that, some of our trails are maybe part of a park system that as you know, we get requests and have fulfilled requests for trails that are maybe in the park system, but also are active commuting facilities, right? It creates the non-vehicle access and an opportunity that we all want to be part of our plan. The way this language is written and its intent, if it's a public land or part of a park system, we basically wouldn't be able to fund those kind of projects.
Couldn't any locality do this with their 30%?
That's what I said.
They could, and this bill does not touch the 30%.
Or any other funding source
This
based on what
this
we
makes no
know.
sense at all. Okay.
That's the standard of scrutiny
Yeah.
Who is,
that you
oh,
won't be able to circumvent, so.
and you said Mr. Laney is chair of House Transportation?
Yes, ma'am. And Delegate Reed is vice chair. And Delegate McClure from Arlington sits on the committee also.
Okay. So we need to have discussions with the full committee, and I need to have discussions with Mr. Reed, and maybe you have discussions with your person from Arlington that's not Patrick Hope.
That's not a maybe, we'll do it.
Yeah,
But
okay.
McClure and.
So I don't know where you've been all this time, but I really like you. You're just fantastic. Welcome to the MBTA. Glad you are here. Okay, I mean, that's just, keep us informed, Tracy. When, is it already docketed?
It's not been docketed yet. I wanted to, now that we've had this conversation, one of the first things I would do after, see what the full authority would say, is contact the committee chair, Delegate Delaney.
Okay.
Well, and also,
I
well,
would be
Delegate
curious
Hope,
to
how we
know
feel.
I would be curious to know what was the impetus for him putting this forward. I would be curious to know who asked him to do this. I mean, maybe he came up with it on his own, but I'd be curious to know where this came from.
Yes. I was just reminded that also Delegate Watts also was on continues to be on House Transportation, yay. But we always have to remember that she's also a former member of NVTA.
Yes, yes. Yes.
So,
yeah, oh, yeah. And
Very much understands our issues.
Okay, all right. All right.
That's all I had. I'm going to put some of this together in a memo that we can send out to the full committee or full authority. I know we're going to talk about this at the full meeting. There are a couple of interesting things that I think I like for us to keep in mind around Metro. I'm sure your staff has told you, but I'm going to briefly go over what's going on with Metro. One, the governor did not include any additional funding in the introduced budget. Not surprising. We really didn't expect him to. We are expecting some members of our delegation to introduce budget amendments, which are due tomorrow by 5 o'clock, regarding the state portion of any additional funding from Virginia for Metro. So I will share those as soon as they are up and posted, which probably won't be until next week. The governor did include a pathway to get around temporarily the 3% cap on the subsidy, so that when money is put together, we wouldn't be violating that. And the governor's budget, and if you've probably read the articles about this, has some specific operational reforms that he desires WMATA to put into a corrective action plan about how they're going to implement these things. They have to do again with overhead costs on a per vehicle revenue mile basis for bus and rail, employee headcount and relative to ridership and vehicle revenue miles, I should say, and a timeline for automation of Metro system. One of the capital projects that General Manager Clark has talked about is a signal modernization program, which would really bring Metro up to today's standard and make the running of trains much more efficient. So this is all going to be, this is all the beginning of the negotiations on Metro. Secretary Miller, as I said, it was at Senate Transportation this morning and reiterated their position about Metro is very important. It has to work. We need to support it. But essentially, I'm paraphrasing him a little bit. Just providing money is not enough. That there are some control. There needs to be better control on rising cost on the administrative side. So I will leave that there. This is the beginning of a 60-day discussion we're going to have at the state level regarding Metro.
So I hesitate to ask this question, but I think it's, for me, kind of an obvious question. If there's no money for Metro and operations, capital, whatever, is there any money that they're trying to set aside for Potomac Yards to?
So actually, that was the second part. I'm sorry, second part that Secretary Miller, he very much recognized that the Potomac Yard project does not work without multimodal transportation improvements in that corridor, including Metro. It is vital. So again, it's all out there, both I think from both the operational side, which would support the Potomac Yard Station, as well as the capital side. So that is they're still working through with Arlington and Alexandria and Amazon and JBG and Monumental, et cetera, working through what precisely the transportation improvements are that they're gonna propose for that specific project. But obviously Metro is a really significant part of that, and they readily acknowledge that. I will say that for them.
Yeah, that's a little confusing. So as of right now, if money's going to go to Potomac Yard, it would be separate from any other Metro money. And
No,
that,
well-
and they acknowledge that it needs to happen yet, it hasn't happened yet.
Madam Chair, I do think it's gonna end up being a related parallel discussion, one side being the capital side of any specific improvements that might be needed for Potomac Yard. But also the discussion about it's part of a system and the system has to
That's
work.
right. Yeah. Okay.
So it, there's gonna be they're kind of parallel conversations at this point, but very much related. You're not wrong. Absolutely.
All right.
I want to leave one, I know I'm going over time, but I want to leave one little tidbit to understand where all this is framed. In the governor's introduced budget, there is general fund money for I-81, for an I-81 project to the tune of $70 million. And then as part of his tax modernization plan, he wants to fund another $400 million off the top of the Commonwealth Transportation Fund for I-81. So that's something, let's just keep that, as we negotiate with everybody, let's understand that that's sitting out there.
Okay. Okay. It'll be a fun session.
Indeed. Indeed.
Now, yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Tracy?
No, not for now. As I said, I'm gonna hope to get you guys a better copy of key bills that we might want to look at. They're just flooding in, and nothing. I mean, there's a couple of weird bills that would eventually that if passed would reduce the amount of state money for transportation that goes in the Commonwealth Transportation Fund. And already transportation stakeholders are rallying around defeating those bills. So I'll give you more information about those. It's not yet, I haven't yet seen anything on the gas tax, but it's sort of like, the tax on rental car fees and TNCs, which currently goes into the Commonwealth Transportation Fund, diverting it to aviation.
All right. Everybody good? Anybody else with the good of the body? Thank you, Tracy. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Well, you'll see me at the next meeting, actually at 7, but yes.
Well, yeah. That too, Tracy. Okay.
Bye.
We are adjourned.
Okay. Did she say divert to